Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hey, I don't know about y'all, but Chad, we're back on here live now. I know a lot of people have asked about us having our show, and we're glad to be back here. We're going to be got a guest with us tonight, Wesley Mann. He is the owner of Spread on Planter Boards. He is in the house with us tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about dragging baits and about running planter boards, and give Wesley a chance to show off his products here. Chad, man, what you got to say for yourself, my friend?
Man, I'm just glad to be back. It seems like it's been forever.
Well, it's been a long time.
But glad to see everybody.
I have been, man, sort of been wrapped up with so much stuff going on. It has been tough. Guys, as y'all coming into the program, we're going to give it a few minutes here before we get started, probably about 5 minutes and just chatting. Guys, if you're jumping into the program, I know this is our first time getting started back. If you would hit that share button right there, share it with some friends or tag some friends in the chat right here with us. Let's get us some viewers back up going here tonight. We got Paul Bender Presley. He is in the house with us. He is a friend of mine, lives here close to us. Mike, good to see you. Adam Isaac, good to see you. And I want to welcome Wesley Mann with us. Wesley Mann, introduce yourself.
Hey, how y'all doing, guys? I'm Wes Mann. I own Spread and Planter Boards. I've been working on some new products and stuff. So I come up with Spread and Planter Boards back in 2018, and I've on my third generation of improvement now. So I really learned a lot about truly pulling boards down in Texas and pulling onto Wackening and those big 3 and 4 foot rollers. And so I've refined since then. And that's what I've been doing, guys, and a lot of tournament catfishing and going back in Tennessee now. So we're out of here, and I just retired from the Army, so I'm done with that. So
yes,
thank you for your service, brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chad, we got some legends in here tonight, man. Adam Isaac and Larry and Wayne
Reed.
Mike Presley. Hey, we even got Mike Graham, man. Scott Childress is in the house with us. Larry Gross, man, good to see you. Brian, good to have you here with us this afternoon, man.
Troy Smith and Nooner Hall's in here. They showed out,
man,
at MRM.
Listen, you can't even talk to Nooner no more. He done his head like this, man.
His head's like this. It done filling up the Mississippi River.
Hey, I'm gonna say this, man. Him and which I have been keeping up with Nooner and his dad, man, for the last couple of years, and they have been really, really competitive. Guys, if you want to keep up with some a good fisherman, keep up with Nooner and his dad Les. They had just won a couple of weeks ago. They had won the Cat Masters up there in Crothersville. Ain't that correct? And then they turned around and won the MRM just last weekend. So, hey, they on fire, man. Yeah, good fisherman, and he does really good wherever he goes. So, guys, hey, we also got Joseph Scott Jr. in the house with it. Him and Jeff Lovelace, they have a belt now that they're carrying around with them from this weekend. World Championship catfishermen is what they are. Got it strung over the shoulder like Ric Flair when they walk around. Somebody said they got a picture of Joseph Scott walking down Main Street and had his belt over his shoulder there where he lives at. I don't know if they do that or not, but guys, y'all got Joseph Scott Jr. is in the house with us. Very good tournament fisherman. Glad to have you, Chris Russell. Guys, we thank y'all for tuning in with us. And we're talking about catfishing here this afternoon. Remember this right here for me, if you would. Tag a couple of your friends. We're getting this show started right here to bring them in. And we're fixing to talk catfishing and talk some dragging baits and running planter boards. Probably something that several years ago, a lot of people didn't even know nothing about. And it has become a way now. If you drag baits, planter boards is a must. And I still run into some people that's not very familiar with it. They ask, what are them? What are you doing? So it's a very unique technique when you're using. It's very, very efficient if you're going to drag baits. In my opinion, if you're dragging baits and you're not running planter boards, you are missing out on some fish that you just don't have baits in front of. Share a little bit with us here, Wesley, on what you got and your ideas here on dragging baits and what you do, man.
So on dragging, I use planter boards in a multitude of ways. It ain't just dragging baits. But dragging baits is 90% of it. So I'll set out, and instead of having a boat, and I'll kind of go over that part. You have your boat, and you have your rods at 7 foot. So you're covering what? 8 foot plus 14. What is that? 24, right? Yeah, no, 22. 22 foot, right? So I'll throw out a bait now with a dragon rig, and I'll put out a planer board, and I'll let out line. And the more line you let out, the further out it goes. But once you lock it in, it uses the force of the water against the plate and the geometry on the arm versus here, and it'll actually get out to a certain leveling point to where it'll start going kind of straight at that angle. But you'll move it out, and I'll easily cover a 100-yard swipe. So every 10 yards, I'll have a bait if I want to, or I'll narrow it in and bring them in. But if I'm running 2, 3, 4 sets of boards at once, but I'm covering 100-yard swipe every 10 yards, I got a piece of bait. So that catfish is more likely to come out and get it. And they'll chase it down. They'll do all kinds of stuff. And there's a bunch of different things that we could talk about. But, I mean, that's just the general synopsis of dragging baits is covering more water. And this comes from the walleye world. The walleye boys actually figured this back out in the 50s. So they were using balsa wood back then, and it's just come up from that. But, I mean, I'll suspend with them. And a lot of the guys that aren't running planer boards are the guys that are predominantly anchor guys, or they're bumping, and they don't ever leave that river. Well, now planer boards are starting to be used in rivers and different techniques. So we can go over that, but I don't want to take up too much time. But
Wesley, you know what? I've been doing this for a while, and I've had a couple of people on the boat with me. If the current is just not ripping so bad, even anchor fishing, I run planer boards. Yeah. I actually just put me a dragging weight on there where it won't hang up as I'm trying to pull it out.
Yep.
And I just drop it down. A lot of times I just put my clicker on. The clicker's got enough resistance to it, and it'll just click its way right on out there to the left, and I'll get it where I want it. I just lock it in.
Yep, absolutely. And with that being said, though, with anchor fishing, guys get it twisted. Like they want to bomb it out there and then hook up on a planer board. And then the planer board, you'll let out all that line, and all of a sudden it'll be out there. Well, your weight's still sitting down where you threw it. Now you got all that slack. You're going to get 4 up, nothing. So the trick, and actually I learned it from you watching the show, try this. And so I threw it off to the side, and I was sitting here watching it. So I throw it off to the side, just toss it, let it hit bottom, and I'll give it about 5-10 feet. I'll hook up my board and then just thumb it out. It'll actually, because it's not so much of a loop in the current, it'll actually grab that dragon weight, a 5-ounce, 6-ounce dragon weight. That's all, I'll use a 3 if I'm dragging, but a 5-ounce, 6-ounce, it'll keep it down there. And it'll actually, instead of that big loop, it'll pull the whole line over and keep it in line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's the same thing I do. I just drop it down, just toss it out a little ways. And like you said, throw enough slack in there. That's why if you're fishing in 30 foot of water, if it happened to be a 40-foot hole, you got enough slack to get to the bottom, and just thumb it out, or you can just put your clicker on and just sit right there and walk it right on out there. Just don't forget about it. Oh, across the river.
Hey, Wes, one thing that you could go over for people that are just kind of trying to learn this and how to use them is when you go to throw everything out, how do you do it to keep everything from getting tangled and in a mess? And which rod do you put out first? How far do you let that one out? Do you run, when you're running planer boards, you let one of them run kind of, 10, 15 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 yards, whatever it may be, and then let the other one out? Or how do you, work through the process of getting everything set up to spread these baits out?
I got a couple videos out that have done this. Josh Brown shot me one to see it in person. Now, it's going to sound daunting at first, right? It's going to be kind of confusing, but it's really simple. Once you do it once or twice, you're like, I got this. So let's use this 7-inch planer board. This is for skipjack. These are great on skipjack, by the way. But anyway, we'll use this as the back end of the boat. So what I do, if you're running a rack or either way, or you're going up the side of the boat, however your boat's laid out, I'll start out and I'll throw my furthest line out as far as I can, off to the 90-degree to the right? And then I'll let that go ahead and go out. I'll come over to the other side of the boat and I'll throw that line out 90 degrees. And I try to get it out as far as possible. That way the planer board doesn't have to pull the baits all the way out again. So by the time I turn around and get this one baited and hooked out, I got about 100, 125 feet out there. So I'll clip on my board and let that spool. At the same time, I'll go over here and clip this board. And if you have a partner, it's a lot easier. So let's just not do the whole boat. We'll do one side. It's the same way on both sides. Mm-hmm. So I'll put out the first one. I'll let it go out, and I'll let my planer board go out. Once that planer board gets out right about, 30 feet or so, I'll throw out my next one off to the side. And I'll let that drop to the bottom, let it spool, give it about 100 feet. I'll clip on the planer board. By the time I clip on this planer board, this one's ready to lock out. So I'll run one, and then as soon as I lock it, I'll hook up another board. That way this one starts walking, and now this board is coming straight out to the back road, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll lock it, and it walks down. And then I'll throw out my third one or fourth or however you're going to do it. But if I'm running planer boards, I will suspend two off the sides of the boat. Because to me, some fish want to hit them suspended, and then some fish want to hit them dragging. So I'll run 3 dragging and 2 suspending, or 3 suspending off the back. But I'll always put 3 planer boards out if I have enough water. See what I'm saying? Yes. So, but that's kind of like the gist, and I hope I made sense of that. But I have a YouTube channel, Spread 'em Planer Boards. Look that up, and you'll see a Josh Brown video on there. He did an amazing job of how to set out dragging baits with using planer boards. Doesn't matter what brand you use; they're all same principles are applied. So if you're running planer boards and you just ain't got it yet, go check out that video on Spread 'em Planer Boards on YouTube. Okay.
YouTube, Spread 'em Planer Boards YouTube channel. They get all the tips and techniques right there of running the planer boards.
Yes, sir. Now that's just setting out dragging. Now I'm horrible. We were just talking about this before the show. I'm horrible about doing media and shows. I know I need to do it, and I know I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. I hate editing videos. I hate it. So, but yeah, I will have more videos coming. I just gotta get better at editing.
You know what? I'm gonna throw something in here on this, and Chad Macon have experienced this. I'm a firm believer, and Joey has really made. Joey loves to suspend baits. Mm-hmm. When we're dragging, he gonna always. And Joey really work. He gonna have one rod, and he really works his rod. Mm-hmm. It's not something that he puts out there, lets it down, reels it up 10 feet, and leaves it. He's constantly looking at that graph. Yep. And dropping it back down, picking it back up. And he has made me a believer because we're dragging baits, and all of a sudden, look on the side, that pole just bam. Yep. I'm like, I think I'm gonna suspend me one.
Hey, Stacy, I'll never forget. Hey, I want to ask you a question. You remember what Stacy? What's your favorite way to fish? Drag baits?
It's pretty close, yeah.
Tell us about the day you were out fishing with Mr. Troy. You remember that day? And y'all had one suspended rod out?
Yeah. And so we were suspended. We was dragging baits. And so because of me fishing with Joey, I've seen the importance of having that suspended rod. And I always had me one suspended. And we had drug baits for a couple of hours. I hadn't really caught nothing. But we come into one place and bam. On a suspended rod, not on my drag. I had four of them I was dragging. And the suspended one went down. I had one suspended in the back, one suspended in the front. When the one went down the back, I told Troy to get it. By the time we got that fish up, got him unhooked, the one in the front went down. Hey, after the second one, I was reeling all my dragging baits up. I said, suspend everything we got around this boat. And literally, for the next 2 hours, it was like we was fighting flies in there. And the presentation made a difference when you went from that dragging to suspended. That somehow, I don't know if that catfish wanted to come up and get it versus it being down. I don't know what the deal was, but you're missing some fish if you're out here and you just stuck to one technique when you could actually be doing 2 techniques at the same time when you're dragging baits.
Now I do add to this though. Whenever I was in Texas, I come from Tennessee and fishing Tennessee River and Cumberland River, and we suspend all the time, right? Because in the Cumberland, there's so many oak trees that I'm going to lose some bait. I'm going to lose some rigs. That's part of dragging up here, right? You're going to lose 10, 15 rigs at least in a trip. But whenever I went down into a lake with zero current, a true lake, they didn't want nothing to do with the suspended baits. All they wanted to do was dragging, and I don't know why, but it was weird. So I just went strictly dragging. I'd drag 8, But now that I'm back here, sometimes they want them dragging, sometimes they want them suspended, or sometimes it's just a roll of the dice which one you're going to get.
Yeah. And I'm going to share another thing, because one of the things that the planer boards and any kind of float system will help you do, and this is something that I do in a certain situation, and there is a couple things that I really like to do, and I love to fish rocks in 20 foot or less water. I love to fish like rick wrap. I love it.
Yeah.
And I've always had good success at it. And it's hard to drag baits. It's hard to anchor in it because you're going to get hung up all the time. And what I've done with this is took planer boards or some kind of big floats and suspended them and run them out. So we're covering the area, and I'm trying to keep everything above them rocks to get from getting hung up. But I'm putting baits in this area. So that's another good benefit. When you go to a planer board, you're able to suspend baits in rocky stuff or real hangy stuff, and not have you hook right down there in the rocks. You know,
absolutely. And this past summer, I've been wearing them out up here on the Cumberland doing it, and using planer boards as a float for suspending. So I got just enough current that you can't drag. It'd be like 1 mile an hour, but those fish are wanting moving baits. So I'll take out a planer board. I'll put a 5-ounce Carolina rig, drop it down the bottom, bring it up, probably 8 foot. That way it stays up. And because if I go over to the ledge, I got more of a chance. But I'll let these out and I'll lock them, and they'll go out to the side. And I'll put 2 sets out of you, and I'll suspend 4 boards or 2 boards, and I'll go backwards as if you're bumping. So put that nose in the current, put it on half the speed of the current. And I'll walk back, and I'll also suspend them off the boat. And I'm going backwards, suspend drifting with the current. But the bait's being a little bit slower in the current. Game on.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I see it.
And that's been working like a champ in the river,
Yes, sir. So. Yes, sir. Hey, and Adam Isaac, you are on to something. I just told Joey the other day. I says, if I'm fishing by myself, I got a bad habit of when I throw the anchor, I want to sit on that spot longer. But if I got somebody fishing with me that's going to pull that anchor, I'm like, boy, we hitting and going.
15 minutes. Pull that anchor, Joey.
And my mindset is, hey, we're going to try to hit enough spots. We're going to catch a couple of fish, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Wesley, when you're pulling boards, how many – so when we do it, we usually typically have 1 suspended rod off the front of the boat, and then we'll run 2 sets of boards, and then we'll run a couple dragging straight behind the boat. Is that kind of how on each side? Is that sort of how you do it?
So since I run SmackDown rod holders, right, it's really cool with this, and I've been doing it this whole summer. It's been awesome. So I'll actually I have 1, 2, 3. And I'll put my dragon three boards out on each side, right? And then I'll throw on that same corner rod holder, I'll throw one at 90 degrees and suspend it off the back. I'll throw another one at 90 degrees. So I got a dragon and a suspend on the same rod holder. So it's flat on the left, and it's got a dragon rig far out. And then I put one at an angle right behind the engine. So it'll be right below the engine, since I can put it in multi-positions on the rod holders. And I'll drop it straight down. So I'll run one in the center of the boat, one suspended off this side and this side, and I'm also dragging six boards. So I'm actually running nine lines at one time, all off the back. I'm not even messing around with the front of the boat.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? But yeah, if you want to try it, that inner rod holder right here, I'll put one, I'll suspend that one straight behind the engine so I'm equal. So I have one left, one right, and one in the middle with it at an angle. And then I'll have my dragon and I'll lay it flat on both sides. So it's been tearing them up. So I'm still covering the 20 some odd feet plus one in the center. I'm not missing a beat. And my first board is only 10 foot off the boat right there, and I'll spread them out.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you my philosophy, Wesley. We got a scent trail going with 9 baits in the water. They know we here. We got putting a bait in the water.
And I've been putting them Alabama style, 2 pieces on a big skipjack. That's all I did. Going for broke.
Yeah,
But
hey, that's the way you sometimes you got to do it. You know what I mean?
that's a
Hey,
fact.
if you're on the Tennessee River, there's a fish down there big enough to eat a whole skip without any problem.
Not a problem at all.
You know, that's one thing people will say, you run a whole skipjack. I'm like, man, a 30-pound fish can eat that without issue.
Yeah, he can swallow it right up. Just cut them
You
at the
know.
butthole and kind of give it a little cut off the gut, and you're good.
Yeah,
You know?
sure right. You ain't got to worry about too big a bait up on the Tennessee River.
No, absolutely not. So
Hey, there was a guy in here, Larry Costello, wants us to talk about dragon weights. He said, I want y'all to talk about the different rope weights and others. So Wesley, what kind of dragging weights do you use?
I use the backwoods catfishing dragon weights, Aaron Churchwell's weights. I like his weights. Sakoti actually made some off to the side for me. So all three of them are similar, but all three of them work great. I got a whole box full of the backwoods catfishing dragon weights. But if I'm running in a river, I like to run a 4 ounce, which they're making them soon. And most of the time I'm running 3s though. There's no reason unless I'm running like one, and that it would have to be over a mile an hour for me to go up from a 3 ounce.
So I'm gonna ask y'all two a question on this, and maybe to help the viewers. Do when you dragging, do you try to use I like to use 3. At one time, I actually just use 6. I use 6 for everything.
Yeah.
But I've come to find out that it seemed like the lighter I can get by with, that the easier it is when it hangs to get it hung. That 6 was getting. So I would tell people, have y'all experienced that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason to have that heavy of a weight because you're still hitting the bottom. It might bounce along and then it'll go down, but it's still getting that raise.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Mhm.
And so that question was presented to me a while back, and I used to do the same thing. I used to use 4, 5s, and 6s. Hey, I'm on the bottom. But as I got to using a lighter weight, I started to notice when that lighter one would hang, just give it some slack, pop it, and it just jumps over whatever it is. And I noticed that heavier weight was sometimes would just be hung. It hangs more than that lightweight, not wanting to jump over stuff.
Yeah.
So we used to run. Go ahead. We used to run the structure snakes 4 ounces, and then when Aaron Churchwell started making his weights, he asked us to join his team, and so we did. And I think we've got the 3 ounce, the bobby weights, and I don't know if we've lost one of those weights.
You know,
yet.
You say something about that though. I use the bobby weights. Actually, I've never even bought them. He gave them to me at Old Hickory last year, or this winter whiskers tournament. He only gave me like 6 of them, and I still have 5 of them.
Yeah,
and I've used them. They work, man. I got to give it to them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Wesley made mention of several different weights out there. They're all some good ones. Guys, get you some, try them out, and give them a try. You can't go about wrong with the ones he made mention of.
Yep.
Now I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret, and I hope this guy don't kill me, but he put it in the chat, so I'm gonna bring it up. So one of the best fishermen that I know on Wheeler, as far as dragging baits, is Wayne Reed. And do you two know what he uses for his weights to drag baits with?
You go. I do.
I don't.
A bank sinker.
Ryan Lawrence does the same thing. Or used to, at least.
Yep. Wayne Reed switched over and started using bank sinkers a few years ago. And he is one of the most consistent fishermen on Wheeler dragging baits.
Now, I'm gonna share something, and this is just my thinking, okay? And because there is a weight that I use that I've had good success with dragging. Some people don't want it to hit the bottom. I won't mind dragging on the bottom. I want it dragging. I want it stirring up some stuff. And when you go back to bass fishing, they used to use a Carolina rig. And the idea was for this weight to drag in the mud, and you would run behind it whatever your worm was or whatever be falling behind it. And the dragging that bait in the mud would simulate a crawfish or something like that, stirring the mud up. And that's how they bass fish. And I really think that sometimes I like to use a weight that's going to be dragging down, not just hopping, but stirring something up when I come up through there. And that's just my philosophy. Everybody to their own. You know what I mean? And I may be telling something that Wayne Reed didn't even want to, but he didn't share that with me. That's just my philosophy on that.
Hey, Larry Gross says, I'm new to planer boards and I do anchor fish 90% of the time. I do use a 3-ounce bobby weight when I do drag, but will they hold the board while anchoring?
What will they hold the board when anchoring? What will hold the board?
Yeah, a 3-ounce bobby weight, if you're anchor fishing, I mean, unless you're in just insane current, that board's gonna, that weight's gonna hold that bait down.
Yeah, I suspend with 5 and 6 ounce weights with these boards, and I'm telling you, I could put 10 ounces on there. And
so these boards will hold 23 ounces.
Yeah, okay? Listen, 5 or 6 ounces don't even budge.
So
don't even phase it.
I tested them, I ran them, and I maxed them out to where 23 ounces, the water line is right there on it, right? It's leaning back because it obviously hooks up to the back. So if you're going to suspend, say put on a 16 ounce, it's going to come to about right there on it. And then as soon as you put water pressure on it by moving or current moving, it's going to lift it into the water column. So you can probably do more than 23. And realistically, I make an extreme board. I got it in here somewhere, but it holds 32 ounces. And
Gracious.
Yeah, it's insane. But I actually made that for Roy Hartness, and I do carry them now just for the Mississippi or the Missouri River on those big currents. So he wanted to run whenever he gets tired of bumping. He'll hook up 32 ounces of this thing, and he'll actually set it out and spool it out, just like we're doing the backwards drifting thing on the Mississippi with 32 ounces, and it'll sit there, or he'll go into a little eddy and let it kind of float around and do its thing. Wham! It'll smack it, and it'll go down like a cork. So that's why I made those. But 99% of us that are not doing that extreme stuff, this will do everything you need to do. Like I throw on, I'll double it up whenever we have 2 mile an hour, 3 mile an hour current up here on the Cumberland, and I'll put 12 to 16 ounces on it, cannonballs, and it holds it up just fine. So
anybody that has not seen a set of spread 'em planer boards, these things are built like a tank. You're
they're
not going to break them.
All aluminum. You step on that arm and it bends down. Oh no big deal. Just push it back up. We're good to go. Okay. I'm not going to say sit there and do this all day long. But if Josh Brown and J.R. Hall can guide out of it 300 days a year and have customers step all over them, and they last for 2 years without me having to replace them, we're doing something. You know what I mean?
Wesley, what model, if they go online and go somewhere trying to order a board, because that's the one I like, that's the one I would recommend. What do they call, what do you call that?
So this is the 10-inch board. It's all things catfishing, guys. So if you ever need one, that's that. I get asked all the time about the clip. So they come with a locking clip. You can get the releasing clip because some people want them to pop off whenever you pop off. So, but my thing is, whenever I get a snag and my board runs to the middle, I'm going to give you a little trick here in a minute. It runs to the middle and I break that 80-pound mono on my Santee Cooper Rig. And then I can still get my board back with it. I don't have to go back and get my board because I broke off everything and now I can reel in my board and I can keep on fishing. That's my big thing with these guys. And Casey Tudorol actually got me to get these because he needed something that would hold braid because he won't switch from braid. And that's how these come into catfishing, guys.
That's what I've been using for years.
Yes.
It was that I found them on a place, and I would buy them, and whatever boards I was running, I took them off and put on there because the little clips, if your board ever hung up, then you're trying to break it loose. Yeah, your line would pop out of it. Then you had to reel it all the way back in. And with that, if it's not hung very hard, you can get it off and just keep on fishing. You ain't got to worry about going back and reeling the board back in.
And whenever that pad gets a little worn, that front little screw, you can adjust it with it. So
yes, you can.
Just beat them down until there's nothing left, you know.
Yeah.
But
hey, there's a question right here. Keith Lloyd put on here. Is there any time of the year when dragging is not useful?
For me, no. But
Chad, I'm gonna let you tune in with. So this was the thing that I was confronted with several years ago, because I started dragging baits, and I dragged them year round.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody had said something to me that you can't drag in the wintertime. I'm like, well, it's too late to tell me that now.
Yeah, you can.
And what I've done is the colder the water got, I just slowed the boat down.
There it is.
And that's what I do. And I had good success. I'll go up on the lake. I don't care how cold it is. We're dragging baits if we're on the lake with very little current. And I slowed my boat down to 0.3. That's what I do. I don't know what everybody else does, but that's what I do. Sometimes 0.2 to 0.3, and we're just creeping.
Yep. And I've also heard of people, if the fishing's a little slow and you're having trouble, figuring out what speed they want, they'll take that boat and they'll zigzag that boat a little bit. And your boards on the outside are going to be moving faster than your boards on the inside. Your boards on the inside are going to be dragging slower, as you're zigzagging that boat, and they'll kind of find that sweet spot and find where them fish want it.
Yep.
That's how you can figure out what speed you need to drag. Now, Wesley, in Texas, I know you did a little time in Texas. A lot of those guys in the summertime, man, they'll drag baits like over a mile an hour, won't they?
On Tawakoni, that was a key. So they ain't got no current. There's zero current. So you know how fast the blue cat is? Whenever you catch one in 3 foot of water on Tawakoni, and you see how fast you cannot keep up to a blue cat is, you'll realize how fast they are. So, but you get during the winter, you're dead on, Stacy. Y'all are dead on. 0.3. Spring, fall, 0.5, 0.6. And during down there. And you'd run shad. If you weren't running 0.8, 0.9, you weren't enticing them. There's too much bait around. You got to make them make a quick decision. So we fly them out there whenever that water's hot. Yep. Absolutely.
And that was always just a rule of thumb for me. I run 3 to 7. Now, like you said, them boys out there in Texas, they smoking them, but a rule of thumb for me is 3 to 7. 3 in the wintertime, and when I get up and that water temperature is 90 degrees, I'm 0.7. I'm booking it. I'm like, hey, they active, they running right now, So, and I think I've heard a Doc Lane talk about pulling them a mile an hour or something. So I don't think if I'm on a lake and I'm pulling boards, and I look up, I'm at a mile per hour in the middle of the summer, I don't think nothing about it.
Yeah. It's no big deal. And current has a lot to do with that too. So if you're going upriver against any kind of current, there's still current. You know what I mean? So you do the math in your head. Okay, if we got 0.3 fucking current, so we're going to go ahead and pull, 0.5 if we want to go really 0.8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my response to that. Now, yeah.
Let me see. We got
Wayne Reed said speed's critical when dragging. We sped up Saturday in the World Championship and thumped the fish when a lot of people couldn't get a bite.
Yep.
and I would, young guys know as well as anybody, man. When you out fishing and you ain't doing nothing, it don't hurt to change what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, you would think. Just like what Wayne said, people may come in and say, well, they just wasn't biting today. And they could have somebody fishing right beside you. You've seen this happen. And you're dragging at one speed and they dragging another, and they're busting them and you're not. And something has done. And the only thing be different is the speed that you're going, putting that bait in front of them.
Yep.
Another little thing to kind of look at whenever you're dragging after a cold front, you want to slow down, obviously, because they're buried up.
Yeah.
But if you're moving along and you're not getting anything, and you just knew you just ran through 10 fish and they're there, go ahead and hit that fan button. Let it stop. Go down to 0.1, 0, and then start going backwards a little bit, and then go forward. You might get one to entice because they could be just sitting there waiting and just following it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little trick to do every.
I've also heard of another guy that's very, very good dragging on wheelers say that he will do that, and if he drags through the fish and they don't bite, he'll circle back around and go back through them, and he's got line counters on his reels, and so when he gets those baits to where those fish should be, he'll just reach up and hit spot lock on his trolling motor.
Yeah, he put it right in front of their face.
Put it right in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah. But Paul Blackwell actually taught me that little trick, and I tried it and it worked. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, somebody wants to go over. Well, no, he didn't say it, but wants to go over it. He just said Go ahead.
He's talking about the lights.
Yep.
Yeah, I know where you're going. I just saw it too. So I just come up with these guys. So I was sitting out there at 2:00 in the morning the other day. I couldn't sleep, and I was making these little flat mount lights, and I made some for myself. Everything that I have, I've made for myself, and I'm like, I bet you $100 somebody would want this, and they need it. So I actually make them. So we have a flat mount version. So this will mount onto any flat surface, right? So I got a degree on there, got little cuts in there. You can see it, but these are rock lights, guys. This come from the off-road world. So I've been running these on my boats since 2014, and I still got one or two from 2014. They last forever. But we got a flat mount version. You can get these on spreadandfishing.com. But any flat wall that you want to go against, right? And then or vertical surface, sorry. And then we got a flat mount one. So if you want to lay it on a flat surface, any flat surface whatsoever, we'll use a planer board. And you want to put it right there on any flat one, I got that style mount. And then this is where the 2:30 in the morning comes from. I was like, why don't I incorporate this into a rod holder? So I took off my SmackDown rod holder and put this up there. And then I mounted onto my rod holder. So there it is. So you could pivot it. And I would put a fast plug on here. So if you got a multi-bar or something, you can just unplug it. You know what I mean? You come off with your bar and then hard mount it to any switch on your piece. But another addition to that, I was looking at a multi-bar the other day on a buddy's boat, and most of them have 5 holes now. So most guys are running 3 rod holders. So you got the 2 other holes. Put a half 13 bolt in it and put this down in there. So now you can angle 2 lights, one straight back and one off to the side, and your whole end is completely done. But you really only need 1 light. 2's better on each side. But yeah, those are something I'm offering in red, blue. Blue will be here on Thursday. They've taken forever to come in. Amber and green. So I got more green on the way too. So
Hey, I think it'd be something useful for people that are not used to dragging baits to kind of go over our setups, like how we rig up and all that stuff for dragging. So how do you rig up, Wesley?
So I use a Santee Cooper rig. So something I've learned through the years is sometimes they're going to want a long leader, sometimes they're going to want a medium length leader, sometimes they're going to want a short leader. So I'll kind of mix it up if I don't know for the day. So I'm going down to Alabama. I spent all this money to drive down there. Here we go. So I'm going to run one of each. So I'll run an 18-inch, a 24-inch, and a 36-inch. And I'll put a float on it, my Dale's hooks, and I'll run a double hook. I always run a double hook because I'm running bigger baits. And I'll put one through the head, one through the back, and a Santee Cooper rig with that float. And then I'll put on just a regular swivel. And I've went over to the sinker sliders. So I'll hook my dragging weight onto a sinker slider. It helps me on hanging up, I think. But that's all it is, guys. It's pretty simple. Yep. So, but with the links, I would go with a shorter one, medium one, long one. And then once I continue to get biting on one, I know what they want for the day.
Wesley, most of the time when me and Joey's fishing together, he fishes with long leader lines. And I always ask him, I may look at him and say, how long is your leader line? Because I don't want to fish with the same exact thing that he's fishing with.
Right.
And the reason why is there's no reason for us to have 6 rods in the water and all of them the same thing.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're offering a variety. And if we see a pattern start to hit, we like, hey, change everything to this one, just like this one right here.
Yep. And after cold front, shorten them things up every time. I don't care. Shorten it up. You get you an 18-inch or a 12-inch. It don't matter. Yeah. I go 18-inch.
If this is, I don't know about with y'all, but this is my opinion with the cold front and stuff. If you ever catch fish and they send out down in the mud, you need to get that leader line close to the bottom. Yes. And you do that by shortening it up, moving your float, and where you can get that bait down close to that bottom. Because if your bait's floating 3 foot up and you're fishing down in the mud, you're going to find out that leader that's closer to the bottom is going to produce better most of the time.
And you did bring up the whole moving the float thing. You can move that float. So I have a 3-foot leader, and I'm normally close to the hook. Move that float up and give it about a foot. That it'll automatically kind of dangle down just a little bit, because bait's pretty buoyant, but it'll help out.
But yeah, by moving your float, you're able to put your bait down closer to the bottom, or you're able to bring it. The closer you move it to your hook, the further it is off the bottom. The closer you move it back to your weight, the closer your bait's going to be to the bottom.
Yep, absolutely.
And somebody asked, do you always drag into the wind or against the current, or does that make a difference? I always want to be dragging against the current if possible. Sometimes if the wind don't cooperate, you can't do that. But I do want to be dragging into the current if I can.
Yeah. Because if you're going with the current, the boards ain't doing a thing. No.
And I laugh at that because I've talked to people who've done it. I'm like, you're going the current. They said, well, my boards went past me. I'm like, you're going the wrong direction.
You're using the resistance of the water on that plate. So if the water is pushing and there's no resistance, it's just going to sit there like a bobber.
Yeah.
It ain't going to do it.
There's two things that I want to do. I want to drag against the current, and I'm going to drag against the wind. Because if you're going with the wind, you're going to find out the winds are going to blow your boards past your boat. And you want that. I like that resistance, being able to get to it.
In a lake, though, a lot of guys have this is me personally. A lot of guys go against the current. You get your spread real wide. Well, I always had better luck going with the wind because I think the bait's being pushed with the wind. So they're getting against that. This is a body of water with no current. So like down in Texas. So I had a lot better luck just going. I'll turn that boat sideways, and I added 1, 2, 3, 4 cleats on the side of my boats to throw off drift socks. And you can kind of move around your drift socks to keep your boat straight. But I'll go with the wind, and I got a 24-foot boat. Well, the boards ain't got to be out far. And so I'm running 6 rods, doing it that way. And I'll drag with the wind, and I had a lot better luck.
Guys, can y'all share a little bit of information, just what drift sock is and how do y'all use that? Give the listeners here a little bit of description on why you would need drift socks.
Chad, want me to get it?
Do what?
You got it, Chad? You want me to get it?
I got it. It don't matter. So a drift sock is just a huge funnel. And you can use that if you're in current and you throw that drift sock out, it's going to help negate some of that wind. So if the wind's trying to blow you across the river, if you have that big drift sock out, a 54-inch, 60-inch, 72-inch, and you're dragging into the current, it's going to help hold your boat straight.
Yep. And I use it with the wind to slow me down. So I'm going with the wind, and it's pushing me. And I'm running 25, 30-mile-an-hour winds. I would run a 10-foot Easterland sock, and then I'll run 2 72-inchers and 2 54s, and I'll move around to 48. That'll be all on one side to keep me at 0.7 in 30-mile-an-hour winds off that 240. Obviously, if you get a taller boat, like y'all's new Intruder, it's really going to push a lot more because you got a bigger gunnel. So, but with that, it's just a big, long tube with a funnel, like Chad said, and you got to change your sizes to keep if you're using wind to push you along. Like out in the Midwest, they do it a lot. So those Kansas boys are really good at it.
Let's see if I can see anything real quick here.
Yeah. I make a variations just real quick. Make a whole bunch of different colors, guys. So these are actually aluminum. I have powder coated versions. It's true powder coat, black powder coat, white powder coat, orange powder coat. And these are our Patriot Catfishing editions right here. So part of this goes back to Patriot Catfishing Incorporated. So we're taking vets out, doing a lot of stuff. Kevin Breedlove, Roger Breedlove, and all them. They started that organization to take out severely disabled guys on a fully funded trip. So we have a little mock tournament twice a year for them, where a lot of us volunteer our boats and stuff. But that's what part of the proceeds goes to. And it's obviously red, white, and blue, because we're talking about some guys that ain't got no legs no more, stuff like that. So part of it, but we want to help them out. So supporting our veterans. So that's that edition, guys. Or you can look up Patriot Catfishing Incorporated, Patriot Catfishing Inc.com. And if you just want to check them out or donate to them. So they're a good group of guys, and it's all down there on Wheeler and Wilson. So we have orange and blue. We got orange and white, all kinds of stuff. And like that's just brushed aluminum with clear coat. So it's a little bit cheaper option for the eco-minded, economical brand. But yeah, check us out at spreademfishing.com or Dale's Tackle and Tackle Bandit. And we just picked up a new vendor down there, Black's Camp in South Carolina. So on Santee, they have a whole bunch of spread and planer boards in stock right now if you want to see them in person. So these are Gen 3s. They're real light. My Gen 1s were real heavy. Gen 2s were kind of heavy. These ones are awesome. And I love these boards. And real quick, guys, before I stop, the arm, I've put this out I don't know how many times. So you put in that arm, right? And if your board's leaning, these boards are tunable. So push down that arm slightly like that. And now, instead of riding like that, it'll straighten back up. And all of a sudden, your board will go out. And vice versa. If it's traveling like that, pull up the arm. So you can kind of tune each one how you want it. But if you notice it's leaning, pull down that arm down to -5, -10 degrees or so. And that's normally where I keep mine. So you have some boards.
Wesley, why you got one of those boards in your hand? Show people that, there's people here that may have never used. Well, where'd he go?
We just lost him. He'll be back on here in a minute.
I was going to get him to show people, how to even hook a board up. There may be people that don't, it looks
Chad,
Greek to
wait
them.
for him to come back in, man. Here you come. Here you come.
Something happened. All right. So why you have one of those planer boards in your hand? Then I lost.
There may be people in here that's never fished with a planer board. Show them kind of how you hook it up and
Okay.
Explain that they're directional, one for one side of the boat and one for the other, and all that fun stuff.
Okay. So we have a planer board. You have a nose on it. And the flat side obviously goes to the back. So the nose goes into it, right? So whenever you put in the arm, you'll look at it and the nose goes forward and the arm always goes towards you. Okay? No matter what color, whatever you have. And then vice versa, you can put it on this side and that's your left and right. So nose forward, arms towards the boat, that's the side it goes to. Simple rule, right? So the way you hook this up, this rear clip, it just slides, okay? It's a real fast clip. That's a newer clip I've been doing. I'm trying to make it to where y'all can see it on the camera, and there's the camera. All right.
I'll tell you, that's pretty sleek, too. I love that on our new board.
I like that.
Yeah. I got that from the striper world and brought it over, because they were actually running live bait with no weight. And the big ones that I used to use all the time, they would slide right over the swivel on their rig, and then this thing would be bumping the striper in the head. So now I brought them into catfishing, and dude, I'm loving them. Y'all love them too?
Yeah, I love them.
So
yeah,
they're real
nice.
quick. This just slides up and down the line, and then you take and let out all that line whenever you're dragging or suspending, or if you're going down 30 foot and you stop it, you hook up that part, and then you put your line in and clip it. Okay, now it's locked on there. I could sit here and cast this thing. It ain't going anywhere. And then you just put it out just like that. And then you float it out and the water resistance push it out. Now, whenever you bring it in, bring it up to your rod tip about a foot or two away. Reach up, flick that lever and throw back the board in the water. You're going to get it back with your fish. So it sits there and floats, slips through, comes back and gets it. Now, if you got small fish or you just don't want to play with it, you just want to take it off, that's fine. But that's the general synopsis of a planer board. And if anybody... I've caught probably about 1,000 dang fish on these planer boards. And I've never lost a single fish from unhooking that clip. Just so everybody knows. That circle hook sets, it's over with.
Yeah. And I fish, I have been right by myself and reel them up, hold the pole and reach up there and unflip it.
Yep.
I mean, all you do is just hit the clip and you go
Comes
back
right on.
it.
That's it.
It's a little bit awkward the first 2 or 3 times you do it. After you've done it about 10 times, you can just reach up there and snatch it off.
That's it.
That's not even
you got a partner in the boat where you don't even, hey, I'm waiting at the back of the boat if Joey's pulling on one. Mm-hmm. When the planer board come by, I just hit it and I'm like, keep on trucking with it. We got that done.
I'll hit it, throw that board down in the water. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Now we're going to go grab the net.
Hey, Chad, share with a man, you fixing to have a boat for sale.
We are, yeah. We've upgraded our boat, so ours is going to be for sale. It'll be tournament ready to go. It's a 2012 Tracker Pro Guide 175 WT. I fished out of that boat. Stacy's fished out of that boat.
And it's ready to go. Everything they need to go fishing. That you can buy it today and fish in it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Got a custom live well on it where they tournament fish ready to go.
You can tell them a little bit about that live well, can't you?
Well, I know one thing. It'll hold a 90-something. It'll hold a 90+ pounder.
It will, won't it?
I've witnessed that.
Yeah, it's got a custom one of a kind SmackDown jacuzzi in it.
Wesley, he was up there. Y'all was fishing a tournament that day, and he had called us and said, "We got a big one." And they got up there at the weigh-in. We got up there, and I walked over to the boat, and I looked in that live well. I'm like, I told Chad. Chad said, "What is he gonna weigh?" I said, "Chad, he may weigh 100."
That's a big fish.
That was a big fish.
Oh yeah. I remember
he come up and rolled, and I told my wife, I said, "Man, he gonna weigh 70 pounds." I dipped him up in the net, and when I put him in the net and laid him in the bottom of the boat, I looked at him. I said, "It might weigh 80." I got him put over in the live well, and I said, "I don't know. This thing might weigh 90." And then Stacy got on the boat, and he said, "It might weigh 100."
it was so I know it'll hold a 90+ pounder. So guys, if y'all looking for a good boat at a good reasonable price, and John's gonna have one coming up for sale, so you can contact him if you know somebody's looking for one. Been well taken care of, and hey, it's been known.
It's experienced.
It's had a few fish to come over the side of it, hasn't it?
It has.
Yes, it has. Guys, y'all got anything else? Anything else, Chad?
I don't. I appreciate Wesley for coming on. Thank you for your time. Good to be back, man. I'm glad to see everybody back in here.
Yeah. Hey, Chad, share with them what you got, man.
John just went and picked it up. It's back in Alabama, but I have not seen it yet. It's a 2017 Catfish Crestliner Intruder.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to putting it in the water and seeing
mercury on it.
A 250 Verado.
So fast, it's gonna blow my hat off my head.
Oh, that Verado's gonna send you sailing.
Hey, you know what I told him about the Verado? Because I had one on that Targa 20-foot Targa.
Yeah.
And mine wasn't but a 200. I said, if you ain't sitting down, you will be when you give it the gas.
Real quick.
I'm telling you.
Chris Parker put in here, can I get a War Eagle from Chad and West? Does he not know Mr. SmackDown's a War Eagle too?
Yeah, what in the world, man? There's 3 right here.
It's a tough time to be an Auburn fan right now, but hey, we're doing the best we can do with what we got to work with.
Lord,
yeah, keep your head up. That's all.
Yeah. Well, let's get ready to close out. Chad, Wes, you got anything else you want to say, man? Add anything else to this?
Hey, y'all, if y'all want to just look around, I got racks I've been making. I got all these rock lights, guys, single colored with mounts. So I'm selling the lights and the mounts together. I got a multitude of colors, powder coated. We got everything you need. Just go to Spread 'em Fishing, spread 'em, just like that, fishing.com, and you'll see underneath the menu, you'll see boat accessories. Yeah, where you'll see a multi-bar racks to flat mount racks, all kinds of stuff that I make. Then you got the medium 7-inch planer boards. That's for crappie, striper, smaller striper, and anything of the walleye world. Skipjack boards. These work really well in the current. And then we got our 10-inch all things catfish boards. If you're on the Mississippi, check out those extremes. I got them. Yeah, I'll do some videos with it, but the foam is huge, like absolutely huge. So if you want something for that extreme water, suspending real big baits. But other than that, guys, I enjoyed having y'all being on the show, and thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir. Chad, you got anything you want to throw in here, man?
There's one more thing. I want Wesley to show him how to hook up a light to that thing or a glow stick so you can drag it at night and see that board.
Man, I didn't even bring in a glow stick. All right, so here we go. We'll just use this Patriot one, right? There's a little square hole, and everybody wonders, like, what in the world is that for, right? So you can throw a piece of fishing string, zip tie, anything you want around through that hole, whatever you have. And if you have a little glow stick, chem light, if you have an electric light that you like, you can throw it flat. That's the reason why I did that, guys. So it's a hole right there to strap it down. Now, I put this out on a live video the other day. I'm not condoning it, nor will I do it. But J.R. Hall, he takes a knife and just stabs it in there on one on each side and throws in a glow stick, like a little thin one. But JR don't care. He just never checks up. So, but the foam don't tear up. It's just I won't do it because I don't like the way it looks. But you can. But he uses those the wrist ones and
The
one
bracelet.
one in the back. Yeah, one of those, and they'll stick up front and back. It doesn't tear up the foam. This foam is some tough stuff, guys. So that
And
is
you can buy those things. You can buy those things at the Dollar Tree for like $8 for $1 or something. They're stupid cheap.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer when you're dragging boards at night.
Yeah. And what's funny is JR leaves those things in for a week at a time and doesn't ever take them out because that's just JR. But he'll fish with them in the water like that, and it just doesn't tear up the foam. It doesn't do anything. It's just the indestructible board is your spread and planer board. I've never had one break, and I've built over 1,900 sets. If that tells you so. Yeah. No.
Well, guys, listen, we're glad to have y'all here. Glad to have y'all tuned in with us tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday night. So y'all put us on your watch list. We're going to try to make sure we have some new guests and fresh guests coming in with us each Tuesday night. We'll be back here next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock the same time. Hey, God bless y'all, and y'all have a great afternoon.
Good night, Mr. Stacy.
Hey, good night, girl.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.